So DeSantis, he supports the idea to eliminate property taxes. So Ron DeSantis, he calls property taxes oppressive, but acknowledges it will require a constitutional amendment. Critics warn that this could cut funding for essential services like police, fire, and schools. Alternatives include corporate tax reforms or adjustment to high value property taxes. So, as I was looking into this article, the majority of the state budget is covered by sales tax. But for services like schools, police, and schools, that's usually in the budget that's being paid for by property taxes. What do you guys think of this move? And I want to know your thoughts because I have some pretty interesting thoughts on this. But what do you guys think?
Well, I have a lot of thoughts on the
For sure.
topic. One, when you replace a tax, right? Because that's what you're doing. You're not removing. You're going to replace it with something else. So there will be an additional sales tax that will be put in place. Like there's no way to do it. The funding's got to come from somewhere. I would be in favor of it if it's done properly and not done in an oppressive way, because then it puts the community responsible for paying for the schools that are in their community. It's not just a homeowner paying for the schools. It's not just the homeowner paying for the police and the fire and the essential services, right? It spreads it out. What you have is a current system where sometimes people feel like there's no rhyme or reason behind the assessment, right? So you could be in your home for 10 years and get assessed and your taxes get raised incrementally. But you could be subject to your neighbor selling their home, taking their equity, right? Now the value is higher. So if they reassess the neighborhood because there's a lot of transactions that take place, you just want to live there for the rest of your life, But are you really truly owning your home if you're continuously taxed on that home until the day you pass away?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. That was the point I was going to make. Is
for sure.
when you think about actually owning, if you do not pay your taxes, you technically don't own a home.
Yeah.
Someone can take it from you. So I actually love the idea. There's states that tax your cars where unfortunately, it's not
Which
that
is
many
wild.
states. But in those states, you don't technically ever truly own your car because again, if you don't pay that, it's not that
They
much
can take
money,
it.
but they'll take that. So I love the idea of eliminating property taxes for true ownership where you can't have that taken away. But you're right, Will. Some other pile of money is going to have to replace that missing revenue that's coming into the local municipalities.
We're paying it one way or the other. So it's just, what are they going to call it?
Yeah.
Unless we can get some fraud, waste, and abuse spending down, that will help out on the other side, which I'm sure, unfortunately, Florida's probably got some of that somewhere.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know if they're going to, tackle that with kind of the current state of the economy and
Doge
current
comes
state.
to Florida.
Doge comes to Florida. Doge/FL.com. But I would be a fan of that, and then shifting some things around. I just don't understand. I just got to pay more taxes for the purpose of paying more taxes because I don't feel that they go to anything that benefits me. That's just my opinion. I don't see it. I mean, the police, fire, absolutely things of that nature. If I see that grow, if I see that get stronger, but then I better see crime come down. I better see better response rates. I better see stuff like that. So it's for me, I don't personally like thinking taxes being raised. So whether they eliminate this and add it to somewhere else, I'm going to feel the same. So I don't know what they should do, to be honest with you.
Well, I was watching PBD the other day, and he was talking about the Department of Education and the amount of funding that goes to public schools. And he was showing from like 1976 to today, test scores have flatlined, and they've just been they've been the same for decades. But the amount of spending has continued to increase astronomically. So the millions and millions of dollars that are going into the educational system has not produced smarter kids. Right. So there's lots of things. It's not just where's the money coming from. It's how is it being used? And then what's your ROI? Right. We should be leading the world in math and science, and we are not. We are the greatest country on the planet, but we are falling so far behind in those essential things. So it's not just where the money's coming from; it's how is it being spent. What are we going to get back from
Exactly.
For sure.
100%. Can't spend your way out of it or
Right.
through it. You got to make the money count for something.
We need
Yes,
Elon to come through and do some budget cuts. That's what we do.
Well, it just kind of makes the argument that anything run by the government is
telling
going to
you,
be
yeah.
nowhere near as efficient as something run by private business.
Yeah.
And you can relate that to education.
Yep, absolutely.
But my last thought on this was in the article is saying, well, if they eliminate property taxes, and then it also says, well, some alternatives could be to increase property taxes on the high value properties. Well, okay, so you're only going to eliminate to a certain level, so that's like almost taxing the rich. Well, I'm not for.
Mhm.
Or increasing corporate taxes. So if you increase corporate taxes, then corporations might not want to do business in Florida anymore.
Sure.
Like why
Mhm.
should we be here? So there's definitely a lot to think about of the right way for this to be effective, where we don't want to end up like California with really not thought out plan ideas and then to basically start trending in the wrong direction and losing all the great things that Florida has to offer. But an interesting article.